Hello from my kayak and welcome back to yet another fishing video. My friends, I just got back from a family vacation to Florida and it was wonderful. However, I'm really excited to be back in Michigan because the weather is great. Spring has sprung. We're getting a little bit of rain right now, but all in all, I believe the fish are gonna be moving shallow and getting aggressive. And that is why I wanted to get out here and fish today. You know, I'm really tired from traveling, but I cannot miss out on some fishing, and I already took a vacation day from work, so I might as well make the most of it. Today I'm going to be going over the Fenwick Elite Light Finesse rod. This is a $140 rod, so it's kind of like that upper mid-range price point, and a lot of you have actually asked about this rod, so I'm excited to talk about it. So you know the drill. Just like a lot of my other videos, I'm going to fish with this rod, I'm going to share my thoughts on it, I'm going to show it off, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to just kind of break it down and give you my final thoughts and whether or not this is a rod that'll be good for you. So without further ado, the more I talk, the less I fish, so let's fish. I'm thinking that crappie should be on the verge of bedding if they're not already. So I'm gonna fish shallow with a mule minnow 2.2, and I'm just gonna kind of slow drift this around in just like a 1 to 3 foot of water. And I'm pretty darn confident, pretty sure I might have just had a bite right there. Pretty darn confident we're gonna catch some crappie. I just went straight to this bank. I think this bank should be a good one for spawning crappie. It's got some shallow rocks and some shallow brush, and it just seems like an area that the crappie should set up. Yeah, there was a bite right there. That might have been a gill though. So this rod goes for $140, which I would definitely consider like an upper mid-range. You know, once you cross that once you cross that $100 threshold. Oh wow, big old bass. Look at there. Well, hopefully you can kind of see how this rod is bending. You know, you can see that it's definitely got some bend to it. I didn't expect that. I was kind of thinking that I'd catch some crappie on this bank. All of a sudden this guy just shows up. Here we go. Oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, once you cross a $100 threshold, you know, that's asking quite a bit more from a financial investment standpoint. And looks like we're gonna handle this guy just fine. There you go. You know, as I mentioned, this is actually a light model rod. You know, many of the videos I do are on ultralights, but in this case we're doing a light power, which is only one step up from an ultralight, obviously. And we pinned him right in the upper lip. Perfect hook set. And there you go. Chunky little bass. He's not big by any means. He's really healthy. It's a beautiful fish. Love it. Up there in the shallows. I do think that there's gonna be some crappie up there. So maybe there'll be a couple bass mixed in, but I'm primarily focused on crappie right this second. There's a fish. I bet that's a crappie. Yeah, that does not feel like a bass. There you go, that's a crappie. It's exactly why I came to this bank. I figured there might be some crappie up here spawning. Who knows? That bass might be coming up and trying to hit some small crappie or something. Who knows? Look at there, choked it. Okay, promise I'm gonna talk about this rod. I'm getting quite distracted very quickly. This, my friends, is why I wanted to come fishing today and not just sit around inside, because I knew there would be active fish out and about. And that's why we're here. Just a little black crappie. See you, buddy. Okay, before I make another cast and get distracted, I'm gonna talk about the setup. So I have this paired up with a Daiwa Tatula LT. This is 6-pound Suffix 832 braid, and then I've got a 4-pound copolymer leader. I wanna say this is Trilene Sensation, I believe. Similar setup that I would use to any of my other ultralights. With a size 1000 lightweight reel, I'd say it's, you know, maybe slightly tip heavy, but pretty neutral for the most part. So I'd say it balances quite well. For a 6'9" rod, definitely balances better than I was expecting with a little 1000 size reel. A lot of times some of these rods that are a little bit longer in length, they have a hard time pairing up with these lightweight reels, but I'd say this one does pretty good. Pretty neutrally balanced for the most part. Definitely pleased with it. As far as the ratings go, this is 6'9", light power, fast action, 1/32 through 5/16 ounce lures, and line 4 to 8 pound test. So basically exactly what you would expect from a light power rod, and definitely seems to cast things just fine. There's definitely some crappie here, kind of just nipping at it. There was the bite, he's got it. Oh, little fish. He's got it, yep. These are crappie, my friends. Exactly what I thought I'd find right here. That's a nicer one right there. You can see this fish is pretty dark, indicating that he's in his spawning colors. The line's kind of wrapped around his fin there, but we actually got him in the mouth. All right, see that fish right there? As some people say, he's got his tuxedo on. He's really, really dark. He's black on the belly right there. That's because that's a spawning male black crappie. And they get those colors like that this time of year. It's a beautiful fish and exactly what I was hoping to catch. Not gonna tell you he's a giant. He's probably only around 10 inches. But that's a wonderful crappie. You know, I'll take a 10-inch crappie any day of the week. You know, you catch a mess of them, you have a nice meal. But today we're gonna turn them loose. There's another one. Oh, that's a bass, I think. I think that's a bass. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. No, no. I thought it was a bass. It's just a slab daddy. Oh. I pulled him up and the hook popped free. But look at that fish right there. Look at that one. Should we get a quick measurement on that fish? This, my friends, is exactly what we're looking for. He's really skinny, but it's a beaut. Beaut and a half. Yep, there's a 12 plus incher. Now, he's skinny. If it's a female, she just dumped all her eggs. She needs to go back down there and get a meal. There you go. My friends, this is exactly why I wanted to come fishing right after I got back from my vacation. I knew that the bite would be on. You know, it is mid-May, early May. I don't even remember what day it is. May 12th. It's May 12th currently. May 12th. It is May 12th currently. And I'm telling you, that second and third week of May in Michigan, it's always wonderful. So I had to get out here, and I'm certainly glad I did, because that was a nice little crappie right there, and I'm nothing but optimistic that we will catch more and more. Here's the hook keeper. It's just a little ring loop right here. It is above the handle, which I like. I like the fact that it's above the handle, and I like the fact that it's closed off to where line cannot twist and get wrapped around it. Sometimes there's types of, you know, hook keepers that the line can twist and tangle on, and that can be problematic. As far as aesthetics go, one thing I really, really like about this rod is the fact that they gave it a full cork grip. My friends, not very many rod companies do this anymore. Everybody likes the glamorous split grip. Personally, I like a full cork rod grip. I'm old school. I like this. It does have the blank exposed right here, so you can keep a finger right on the blank. One thing that I wish that the cork grip was just slightly thicker. It's pretty thin, but all in all, I'm not gonna complain about it too much. Very, very comfortable. And I'd say that the reel seat is perfectly fine. You know, it tightens down from the top and does the job that I could ask it to do. Nice little touch with a logo right there. Not that that matters, but it looks cool. And then they've got it in the cork as well. So that's kind of cool. I feel like Fenwick has a really cool logo, so you might as well show it off. Guaranteed fish, my friends. These crappie just ball up and spawn. Oh yeah, he's carrying it. See, that was a nice light hook set, and that's exactly what I need to do. I have pulled the hook out of a fish's mouth a time or two, and that's because I overcompensate with my hook set. I really need to just lightly hit them. You know, these fish have those really thin mouths, and as I've talked about before, you know, sometimes you can rip hooks out of them if you're not careful. And so that was a good little hook set there. And you know, I do have to be honest with you. I did purposely want to catch crappie today because I felt like this rod right here does extremely well with crappie, and I'm gonna talk exactly about why. So this rod is called a fast action, and I would say it's close to a fast action, but I do think it's probably a little bit more like a moderate fast, somewhere between moderate fast and fast. You know, I brought this Temple fork down here as well because I'd say it's a very comparable rod. This is an ultralight, this is the 7-foot model, and I'd say it's pretty darn similar, but there's something that I can't quite show visually, but it's more of a thing that I can feel. With this Temple fork, I feel like when I go to cast my jig, I feel the rod loading at the tip. I feel that the bait is kind of putting the pressure on the tip and it's casting well there. The thing that I notice that comes through with the Fenwick that's a little bit different is when I go to cast this one, I feel that rod load up a couple guides down. And so it doesn't cast quite as effectively with lighter lures. And I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I'd say it's mostly because of the fact that it's just a little bit less fast of a rod. It seems to bend, it just wants to bend a little bit lower down on the blank, especially with the pressure of a cast. I was literally just reeling the mule minnow in. This one came up and thrashed it. There's definitely a group of spawning fish right here. Anyways, it's not a huge problem, but that's why I wanted to test it on crappie, because I do feel like as I've used this rod, crappie seems to be the species that I would say it does the best with, because it just has that little bit softer blank to it. And so I would say it's kind of well suited for this type of fishing right here. I would probably prefer a couple other rods that I have for more of the bluegill fishing and whatnot. Ultimately, nothing wrong with this rod, but I'd say it's kind of a crappie stick in my head. I don't think it's like quite as versatile as some of the other rods that I've used, and that's nothing wrong with that. It's just more a matter of picking something that's going to fit the job that you're looking for. And if you're a multi-purpose angler, there's probably a couple other rods out there that I would probably recommend before this one for the price. But if you're like a true crappie fisherman, you really want to focus on crappie, you like a little bit less fast of a rod, maybe like a moderate fast, or kind of like that moderate fast hybrid like I think this is, then I think this is a great stick for you. Man, we are just putting a hurting on these crappie. There's a whole pile of them right here. I don't have to hardly fish any of this lake. I can just kind of fish one location, and there seems to be all the fish I'd want, all within about a 20-foot stretch. So I'm just using a 1/32 ounce fire red mule jig, and I've got that mule minnow 2.2 in a cowpoke color on there, and seems to be working quite well for these crappie. I've had a few short strikes, but for the most part, they've torched it, taken it down well, like that fish right there. My friends, that is fun. And I'd say this rod is, halfway sensitive. I think a lot of the bites I'm detecting in the line, obviously it's a braided fishing line, it has no stretch, and you can really feel everything on that braid. Yeah, that fish wanted it. But, the rod seems to be picking up on those bites quite well too. See ya, bud. Man, that one throttled it. Look at that guy. I'm just gonna skate him in a little bit. Crappie, they don't necessarily put up huge fights, but they do pretty good. Man, we caught one that was over 12 inches, but all the other ones have been kind of like 8 to 10 for the most part. This one right here is just a little bit fatter, and it doesn't have that super dark color. Maybe could be a female, I'm not sure. They're all black crappie so far. I haven't caught a single white crappie yet. If you're trying to make a decision between a light power rod and an ultralight power rod, I'd say my general rule of thumb is really to look at what type of baits you plan to throw and then what type of water you plan to fish. So if you want to fish a lot of stuff in the 1/16, 1/8, maybe even up to a quarter, and you're maybe going to be fishing around brush piles and stuff, probably go with a light power. If you're going to be fishing with stuff, 1/16 is kind of the high side, and you're going to be doing a lot of 1/32, maybe some 1/64, and maybe you're not going to be fishing around quite as much cover, I would say that the ultralight power is the way to go. All right, I gotta catch one on that Temple Fork to kind of compare and contrast that rod blank. You're probably not even gonna be able to notice it in the video, but there is a slight difference, and I feel like it's worth noting. So hopefully I can catch one on this rod. Haven't caught one on it yet. I'm using a slightly different setup, a little bit heavier jig. There he is. Looky there. You might be able to notice a slight difference in that rod bending. Obviously this fish didn't put a huge flex in this rod, so ideally I hook something slightly bigger than this one to kind of compare and contrast the TFO to the Fenwick. The reason I want to compare these rods is because there are a lot of similarities, and they're also a very similar price point. The TFO is a little bit cheaper at 110 bucks compared to the 140 for the Fenwick. All right, watch my line. There's one. It's a better fish. Is that a bass? I think that's a bass. Well, hopefully you can see how this rod is flexing. There you go. You can see this one's definitely an ultralight, and you should be able to see that it's just a slightly faster action. I think I reeled too much line in. There you go. Kind of a skinny bass right there. But there we go. That is why I was fishing with that TFO as well. Hopefully you can kind of tell, and again, it might be hard to see in the video, but it's got just a slightly faster action. So I'd say these two rods right here, so 110 bucks, 140 bucks. Pros of this one, I feel like it actually balances a little bit better. This TFO is definitely on the tip heavy side for the little bit longer model, as opposed to the Fenwick. It balances better with a lighter reel. So I do think pro for the Fenwick is the balance. Faster action on the TFO though, and I think that also helps with the castability of light lures. Not to say that a more moderate stick can't cast stuff well, it can, but just the way that this rod kind of bends and flexes on a cast when it loads, it's just a little bit funky, and it doesn't cast quite as comfortably, I would say, with light gear. So definitely TFO probably wins a little bit on that side of things. All in all, I'd say the TFO is probably a little bit more of an all-purpose rod, whereas I think I would probably pick up the Fenwick for a few specific techniques. The Fenwick is definitely a little bit lighter than this TFO, or at least it feels that way right now. Maybe it's just the fact that the balance is better, but in my hands, my head is telling me that this Fenwick is lighter. All right, now that we caught a fish on the TFO, I think we can put that one down for a little while. There's one. Man, he went running. Oh, well, it's just a little crappie, but man, that fish was fast. He took off for deeper water the second I hooked him. For all I knew, it was gonna be a big fish. But no, dinky fish. There's another little bass. It's a little juvenile guy. Whoa, man, they got the jumpies, man. They got the jumpies. Springtime jumpies are in full effect. All right, bud. There you go. Man, not a big fish, but he's very, very fat, and I love to see that in the spring. I love to see it. Oh yeah, something hammered it, knocked slack in my line. It's gotta be a bass. Yeah, I'm thinking that's a bass. Let's see if he gets the jumpies, like his little buddy. He's not got the jumpies. Look at there. Okay, there we go. Look at that rod. You can see that it's pretty darn close to a fast. But again, I'm gonna call it a moderate fast mix. Somewhere between the two. That's a beauty. May not be the biggest fish in the world, but it's a beauty. It's a really beautiful fish. My friends, I love me some springtime bass. Look at that fish. Isn't he just like a pretty bass? If you are certain that your broken rod is our mistake, and your rod is under the designated warranty period, you will need to send an email, okay, a photograph of the rod, a copy of the receipt, a description. Okay, you know what? I think that's pretty solid. Okay, so I think it should be noted that for 140 bucks, not only do you get the rod, but you also get the limited lifetime warranty. And after looking at their website, I feel like it's a pretty solid warranty, because if you broke this rod and you felt like it was truly a manufacturer error, you could just send a picture and a brief description, and they should hopefully get you a replacement sent out. What's really nice about that is the fact that it cuts out you shipping a rod to them. I really don't like it when rod companies make you send in the entire rod. I don't mind it if they make you send in like a cut down portion like Dobbins does. I think that's cool. But the fact that Fenwick is just going to honor it on photo and description, and then potentially, you know, a follow-up call or something, that's pretty sweet. And I definitely trust Fenwick too, because in my experience, I've fished with several Fenwick rods in the past, and they've always been good, and I wouldn't necessarily expect them to break, but if they did, I feel like they're a pretty good company to work with. So that's nice. So again, I feel like that's necessary to note, because $140 feels pretty steep, but if it's a rod that breaks 3 years down the road and they can fix it and get you a new one, that's pretty nice, and I feel like that's a value to a lot of anglers. I probably need to do a better job of talking about warranty policies in these videos moving forward. Obviously, several of the rods that I've talked about in the past do have warranty policies of their own, and I just sometimes forget to bring that up, but somebody mentioned it to me in the comments at one point, and I felt like that was super good feedback. So if you ever feel like I'm missing anything in these videos and you feel like it's something that you think I should add in, please don't hesitate to drop a comment below and let me know. Ultimately, I'm no expert when it comes to like making videos and that sort of thing. I just kind of do what feels right, and I try to add all the information that I can, but sometimes I forget things. So if you ever notice anything that you feel I'm forgetting, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments. That definitely helps me become better, and it also helps the community. So this fish is just totally torching me on this ultralight, and that's wonderful. I'm just over here talking about my videos, but meanwhile I've got a really nice bass on the Temple Fork setup. There you go. Look at that juicy little guy right there. No giants today, but beautiful fish. And I tell you what, on this Temple Fork I've got a 1/16 ounce limited time purple mule jig with a mule minnow 2.2 and a white. The reason I rigged this one up is because it's my K-State colors. Kansas State University, baby. Go Wildcats. So this fish right here, I'm gonna dedicate this fish to Coach Jerome Tang for the K-State basketball team. He is freaking awesome. I love that guy. He is such a wonderful, positive energy, and he is an awesome coach, and he is everything that the university needed, and certainly appreciate him. It was really fun to watch the basketball season this year. It was also, obviously, always a blast to watch the football season. College football is, to me, the pinnacle of sports. College basketball is wonderful as well. Those two things certainly make me happy. And the fact that we had two great programs this year Oh man, that was awesome to watch. And I have nothing but positive thoughts for the future. I feel like K-State's got a really wonderful future ahead of us when it comes to athletics. I'm rigging up this little Yozuri floating pins minnow, and I'm gonna twitch it around on the surface and see if I can't get a little bass or crappie to come up and hit it. Just something a little bit different. Similar profile, but treble hooked bait, way different action. There's a fish. Oh, he like sideswiped it a little bit. Got him. Little dinky bass. Now he's got to be careful. These little spunky bass right here on treble hook baits can be problematic. Fortunately, I can just do that. There we go. Ain't much, but I knew this jerk bait would catch me something. Hopefully I can catch one a little bit bigger than this before I go home. All right, buddy. Hooked him good. There's one. He hit it when I went to go and twitch it again. Oh, he shook it. Dadgummit. That'll happen with treble hook baits. I needed to keep my rod tip down, but I was dumb. Oh yeah. That one came up and throttled it. That was up there in the shallows. Yeah, let's try to keep him down. Oh no! Dadgummit, I tried to keep my rod tip down, but when I went to switch from this side to that side, he decided he was gonna jump. And of course he shook it. Most of that is just the fact that I'm using small treble hooks. You know, you can't necessarily blame the rod. You know, ideally, the rod should help you bury the hooks, and then when they jump, ideally it doesn't shake them. But at the end of the day, it's not that much hook to shake. So if they jump and do a flip and shake their head really aggressively, no matter what rod you're using, that's always gonna be a possibility. I don't think that this rod had any problem with burying the hooks. I think it's more of a coincidence that the last two bass that jumped shook the hooks. Oh, there we go. Got throttled. That's got to be a bass. Oh, wait, what is this? Did I snag the side of a crappie? Oh no, it's a little white perch. He ate it, but then he got hooked in the side when he started fighting. Oh geez, so he didn't really fight at all. Oh gosh, these fish, these white perch and white bass, man, they are terrifying. When they get hooked, they will try their hardest to hook you right back. So you gotta be careful with these fish, I'm telling you. A white bass was the reason I got hooked in the thumb when I was in high school. I was fishing with my dad for Father's Day, and a dang white bass and a topwater, I had a topwater popper in a white bass's mouth, and it shook and it hooked me right underneath my thumbnail, and it was not a fun experience. Needless to say, my dad never lets me forget that one. It's funny, this white perch actually hit it like a freaking freight train. There you go. Cool. Okay, well, we actually caught a fish on the little Yozuri pins minnow, so that's good. Well, needless to say, the fishing was pretty darn good. I was not out here for very long, but I put a hurtin' on the crappie. I caught some decent bass along the way, and then we ended the day with a white perch. So always fun to do a little multi-species fishing. All in all, I do like this rod. I think it is a pretty good crappie stick. I think that it's got the possibility of doing some other stuff as well, but I would say 90% of the time, if I had this rod, I would probably focus in on a jig bite for crappie, maybe some slip float fishing, that sort of thing. But I probably would not consider this like an all-purpose rod. I just feel like there's other rods out there that I like just a little bit better. That being said, for $140, it's got a limited lifetime warranty. I feel like it's a pretty high quality piece of equipment, and I do think that it's comfortable to fish with. So I definitely think it's got a spot in the box for people that like crappie fishing. For those of you that are looking for a true ultralight, something that's going to cast super lightweight lures, I don't think that this is going to be it. But if you're going to be fishing a lot of like the 1/16 to 1/8 range, maybe even some quarters, I do think this will do quite well for you. All in all, good rod, had fun today. Make sure to stay tuned. I'm going to do more rod videos in the future. If you have not clicked subscribe yet, I would love if you did so. Have a good day. We'll catch you next time.